Okay, so today we're going to be talking about something that happens quite frequently to people with a lot of overuse injury, and that's called the Quevarian syndrome. Essentially what it is an inflammation of the muscles that control the thumb. So usually it's your abductor pollicis brevis and your extensor pollicis longus. So they're two muscles that do some fine motor control in the thumb. They take the thumb away and they extend the thumb back. These things happen when you're constantly either sitting at a keyboard or a lot of fine motor movements like writing, typing, sometimes lifting and twisting things. So all those types of things will affect something called your radial nerve, and it creates a very uncomfortable feeling, almost as if a swelling in the thumb, inhibiting you from being able to do things like properly squeeze, grab, even sometimes doing a thumbs up really hurts. So a lot of the times this localized injury stems from a little bit more of a systemic approach. Usually these things come from the shoulder not working correctly, specifically when your shoulder can't get into something called external rotation. That happens for many reasons, but more so the case is that either our rib cage is shifted or we have really unstable rotator cuff muscles. So some of the things that you can do for this to either alleviate the direct pain or to work on the overall potential cause of this issue is strengthening some of your rotator cuff muscles, work on the rotation of your radius and your ulnar bone, and then also just strengthen your overall wrists, your extensors and your flexors. So one of the exercises you can do is really simple. You're going to need a simple mat like this, a really small weight, or you can kind of sort of regress this down to no weight at all, but we'll be demonstrating it today with a really small weight, a 3-pound weight, if you can get yourself a hands on that. Now, typically, a lot of the times you'll get therapists or trainers that like to do this exercise regressed, meaning simplified up against a wall. I prefer to do these things on the floor. Reason being is because when you lay straight down and you put the hand that's not affected down and you put basically your forehead into the floor, when you go and you put your hand into 90 degrees right here, the elbow, and you just simply lift your hand off the ground, what you'll find is if you have any sort of compensation going on, your rib cage will rotate either towards or away. This is something that's much easier to catch when you're laying down rather than standing up. So for this specific exercise, we're going to be doing it on the floor. Hand here, forehead down. You're going to simply start off by testing your overall strength of your external rotators in your shoulder, and you're going to go ahead and just place your hand in a 90-degree bend. You're going to lift your hand off the ground without moving anything else in your body. If you notice that when you lift, you kind of sort of sway to one side, push your hip down and away and make sure you're nice and flat. From here, you're going to lock this in and you're going to just simply let it hover above, holding it for about 4 to 5 seconds. And we're going to practice extending our hands straight up while holding this bend here. You're going to shrug up and then you're going to go for a nice long reach. Again, maintaining everything in your core. Make sure that both ribs are down flat on the ground. Your feet are nicely secured on the ground as well. And you're going to just hold that. Avoid overly shrugging your shoulder up. Try to keep it a little bit more depressed and just reach long with your fingers. And then you're going to bend it back down. And you're going to repeat this about 4 to 5 times. Now, if that gets too easy, we can introduce a weight. Same thing with the weight. You're going to have that 90-degree bend. Your face is going to be down. Okay? You're going to start down and then you're going to slowly lift that arm up. Holding. And same thing, without shrugging up too far. Fully extend the arm. And come back down. Okay, so where you should be feeling this is right around this area, the back of your shoulder, sometimes even in the back of your shoulder blade. This is going to be a great exercise to strengthen that external rotation and help you sit your shoulder blade down properly. Sometimes it even relieves some of the nerves that are stuck in that area, and then it brings some relief to the actual overall arm. The next exercise we're going to do is also on the floor, and this is more so to strengthen anything around the elbow joint. It's going to be a simple tricep extension, except what we're going to do here a little bit differently. So when you lay flat down, you're going to make sure that both of your shoulder blades are nice and flat on the ground. Your hips are nice and square. You're driving your feet into the ground, making sure that everything's nice and equal in the rib cage area. Same thing here. You're going to make sure that your elbow and the inside of the crease of the elbow is right around like your chest level or like your nipple level here. You're going to take your opposite arm and you're going to lock this in place. Okay, we're going to also work on getting more of a 90-degree bend. So from here, making sure that this is pushing your hand in place. Don't allow any movement here. You're going to simply start to bend back. And what you might notice is you might want actually your shoulder blade to come off the ground. We're going to work really hard on driving that down. Okay, you might start getting a little bit shaky here. That's okay. Maintain this arm here. And you're going to just simply hold it at 90 degrees. Now, what's really important here is make sure the elbow is not flaring out and you're not flaring this way too much. You're nice and locked in, okay, perpendicular to your shoulder joint. You're going to hold that for a few seconds. Once you start to feel a little bit of fatigue bringing on, you're going to simply let it come all the way back down into a full stretch. You're going to hold that there. And now on the way up, you're gonna very slowly make sure everything's engaged in your shoulder blades. So almost as if like squeezing your lats and your rib cage down. And you're gonna push your elbows straight up. Nice and slow into a full lockout, right? And then again, you're gonna slowly bend down, controlling that, make sure it's not swaying anywhere, keeping it nice and straight. Okay, lock it here, and then full stretch down. Same thing, you're gonna repeat this about 5 to 6 times on the arm that's affected with the thumb pain, okay? Now, to work on some things that are a little bit more specific to our flexors and extensors in our forearm, typically this is best done with a kettlebell, but if you don't have a kettlebell available to you, you can always use a 5-pound or a 3-pound dumbbell that's relatively smooth and grooved here. You're gonna get yourself something like a bench or a little stepper. Okay, you're gonna place your elbow on here, and same thing, we're gonna make sure that we're nice and secured under our armpit, and then our actual arm here is flat and flush against the pad or your stepper or whatever you decide to use. You're gonna let your hand hang off straight. So make sure that there's a good 3 to 4 inches distance between where your elbow support is and the actual free movement of your hand. You're gonna let this sink down, okay? What you might start to feel, if you have the pain in the elbow, sorry, not the elbow, in the thumb, it's a nice stretch. Let that stretch happen. Then what you're gonna do is slowly secure your elbow nice and straight in place, right? So let the arm kind of roll forward. Opposite hand is gonna be securing your elbow down, making sure it's nice and straight. And you're simply gonna go ahead and work on a full stretch down and then slowly curling up. All right, so see how my hand comes up nice and straight. You might start to feel a little bit of cramping in some of the extensors. That's okay. This is the whole point. We're trying to strengthen some of these main muscles here that are a little bit weakened because of that over shortened position of always typing or writing. All right, so same thing, secure. Slowly roll up, hold. About 3 seconds is all you need, and then slowly for a count of 3 on the way down. All right, so with this one, just be a little bit careful. You can do about maybe 4 or 5 reps, nice and slow. We don't want to overstress the muscles that are already hurting. This is another excellent one for grip strength, which is usually inhibited because of that de Quevarian syndrome. Right, nice and slow, 3 to 4 reps, okay? The last one, what we're gonna work on is the supination and pronation of these 2 bones here, your radius and your ulna. Now, this usually is a also inhibited area when we have an issue with our thumb. Reason being is because we don't have much control on our elbow, so the next available joint to take over for that will be your thumb and your wrist, right? So if we don't have movement here, the next joint that's gonna start picking up movement is here. Just like if we don't have movement here, the next available joint that's gonna pick up the movement is here. So on and so forth. What you're gonna do for this specific exercise is you're gonna actually grab your dumbbell in this regular position, cradle it in your hand nice and straight. Start with your wrist kind of sort of flipping over the table or whatever you decide to use to support yourself. Same concept, we're gonna use the opposite hand to secure our elbow in place. Now what you wanna do with this hand is to really feel the 2 ends of the bone on your inner part and the outer part of your arm, right? So these bones roll over each other, meaning that they turn in and they turn out. So with this exercise, all you're gonna strictly focus on is making sure that you feel the turning of your radius in and the turning of your radius out, all right? In and out. Now the reason why we're securing our arm here is because we don't want our shoulder doing it, right? Very, very commonly you're gonna see the shoulder try to take over if we're weak here. There's a couple of muscles here that are crossed that are responsible for this. So we wanna make sure we take this bone out and allow these 2 bones to do the movement with the muscles that are intact, right? So same thing, you're gonna turn. Nice and slow. Okay, same thing, making sure we're securing here. Turning. This one you can do about 6 to 8 reps, no more than 2 sets, nice and slow, right? Again, you might feel a little bit of a stretch in the actual thumb itself, that's okay. The whole point is to not agitate the thumb as much directly, but to work around the area that's inflamed. When we have a lot of inflammation in the area already, we don't want to overstimulate it too much. Rather, we want to work on the supporting systems and structure that might help alleviate the pain on the direct joint, right? So give these ones a try and see if it helps you reduce the pain. Usually these things heal within about 4 to 6 weeks of proper rehab. So if you include these exercises about 2 to 3 times a week for this syndrome, guarantee your thumb's gonna feel A-okay.